Must win, gonna work. We're getting criticism in our ear. Is that the way we want to open the show now? In a bad
We were
mood?
in a great mood because we were listening to the latest First Things First song.
Cowboy Brew, I don't like it. I love it.
That is what it goes.
It's a great song.
Shout out Kalen Galladay.
Absolutely.
Who
Thank you, Kalen.
Wilds doesn't mind that song making there. Kalen's first song, a tribute to Kevin Wilds.
Just calling me Captain Easy Stance and mocking me the whole time.
Captain Easy
Quite
Stance.
I thought it was good, too.
It was great.
Hold
that
on,
was a rock
we got to
song.
get to the sports.
We do have to get to the sports.
We're starting with Tush pushed me too far. Criticism of the Tush Push reached a fever pitch after the Eagles ran it for 11% of their offensive plays, while some replays uncovered a variety of violations. The Eagles' Jordan Mailata has been pushed over the edge. Starting to get angrier as the interview went on. Your reaction to Jordan
All right, so a
Mailata's
few things. One is I really like Jordan Mailata. I think he's one of the coolest stories of any player in the NFL on his path. I also think he is reacting not to anything the Chiefs said, not even, I would hope, to anything I said, and if it was, I'll clarify it. I think he's actually reacting to Schefter, because Schefter had the comment Monday morning, the Chiefs didn't lose this game Sunday, they lost it back in March when this rule, well, you know what I mean, when this play was allowed to stay in. So listen, I can't speak for, and I think Adam was trying to be colorful with his, his storytelling. I want to be clear about my take on it. This is not why Kansas City lost. Kansas City lost because at this moment, Philly is better, and in that game, Kansas City made the only catastrophic error. That is why the Chiefs lost that game, okay? And I think the Chiefs would tell you that.
Yeah, I didn't hear much.
No, Chris Jones talked about and was asked about what he was mad about in the false start, but I haven't heard any Chiefs say we lost because of this, and so I want to make that clear.
I agree with that.
With that said, it is not accurate for anyone to pretend like the Eagles getting away with neutral zone infractions and false starts is new. So that's the frustration. The frustration is it is not something that just happened this weekend. It has been, if you really watch the league closely, and I know all of us watch it closely, also have always hated the Tush Push, you've noticed this for years. The Eagles have talked about it, Romo's mentioned it. So I think the problem is the play was already controversial enough it was voted on twice. And there is years of evidence that they have been getting away with. The refs have been allowing them to either line up incorrectly or false start, and there's been no penalty.
Are you saying that always happens, or are you saying like this is two examples of it happening? It happens often.
I'm saying it happens all the time.
What does all the time mean?
I think that more often than not, when a Tush Push is ran, either a player is lined up where they aren't supposed to be, and or they false start. I think very, very rarely upon replay would you say that was a clean play. And I think that it has gotten worse over the years because they never get flagged for it. That's my take.
Here's how I feel about it. I'm starting to feel about this like I felt a few weeks ago, really maybe 1 week ago, about the Micah ruined your defense because he can't stop the run stuff. Because you and I talked about, we never heard stuff about Micah being problematic with the run until he was traded. And all of a sudden it was like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, look at this
Micah
stat I've been sitting on.
Well, that's the thing too.
Yeah.
So you brought up the videos. Okay, there's a little chitter chatter there. But when they talked about Micah, people brought up stats.
Yes.
That proved, you see, the run gets better when Micah's not on the field and all that stuff. To me, it's still, I don't really want to hear it because if the refs let them get away with it, that's on the refs.
Agreed.
Every team and virtually every player tries to get away with what they can.
Totally.
I'm not even criticizing Mahomes, but we've seen him do the fake slide here or there or the fake running out of bounds and get a couple extra yards. Like, if the refs are going to let you get away with it in all of the sports, the players try to get away with it. So I hear you. I mean, it was clearly false starts on Sunday. And I just wish that the refs would call stuff. If it dates back 4 years, so be it.
Yep.
But the refs haven't been called. I'm just not one with they've been cheating for 3-4 years, and that's why they're so good at it.
I do not consider that cheating. And I think I didn't call it cheating on the show.
No, you didn't.
But I
use
might
that
have
word.
said it on the
You
podcast.
didn't use that word,
but I might have used that word on Tuesday.
I don't know what else to say.
Right.
What
No,
other
it
words
is
to
to
use,
me.
but-
It is not them lining up where they line up or false starting is in the exact same bucket as the Legion of Boom. Illegal contacting every play and being like, you know what, we call it if you want. We're gonna get advantage of it. So that is not cheating at all. It's not even really gamesmanship. It's just doing what you can get away with. I'm fine with it. My point all week has been, I'm not a man on an island in thinking we wish this play didn't exist. Now you can call it sour.
I think most people. Most people feel like it needs to go.
On that island with me certainly is the commissioner of the league and 22 other teams. Mm-hmm. And now some of them might be because they're, competing with the Eagles, but there are some bad AFC teams that voted against it as well. That's not because they're the Eagles.
It will be interesting if it comes around, and I always say it, that the Lions were the only team that are playing the Eagles this year that voted to keep the Tush Push.
Yeah.
It will be interesting, not to derail your point, if
fine.
they vote on it again, where it's like, oh, we're not playing the Eagles and my opponent is playing the Eagles, I'm actually going to change my vote.
Sure.
I wonder how much gamesmanship was in the vote where it's not just a pure, this is wrong for the game.
But the point, that's totally fair. The point that I'm making is, when it's already a borderline, I think that's fair to say, and certainly controversial play, I would expect the refs to make sure they adjudicate it fairly.
So how come this hasn't been happening? We hear all the time, oh, you know what they're saying? In the press conference, this is actually not only to the media, but it's also to the refs. It's also to the league office. Oh, there's going to be tape of that. They're going to send it. It's going to be a point of emphasis for the refs. This play's been going on forever.
Right.
And all of a sudden, like you said, it pops up like, I think false.
Like
We're
Jason
talking on the shows.
Kelce,
False
he
start.
said the league reached out to the
league
Eagles.
reached out to them 2
Were
years ago.
teams reaching out to the league?
Honestly,
we haven't heard a lot of complaints.
I think it hasn't been in the media because the media bucket of complaining about a team getting an unfair advantage has been so full the last couple of years with Chiefs talk that there's just hasn't been room for it.
There's an element of that,
It would have
too.
run counter to the narrative of that everything's rigged for the Chiefs to be like, hey, Deion Dawkins also jumps early, you know what I mean, like Jawan Taylor does, and the Eagles are lined up off sides. That wouldn't fit. And so the reason I have seized on it is because I have felt this way, and it's documented on this show and others about this for years. And once Brady pointed it out, and then Dean Blandino in a moment that, and I know Dean, I should just ask him. I wonder if he almost wishes he hadn't said, but like a moment of palpable disgust says, I'm done with this play. It feels like an opportunity to just shine a light on it.
But this is the first time I've heard you talk about the false starts, though.
Oh, real? Oh,
No, we talked.
No.
I haven't heard that.
We kicked it around.
I don't remember hearing that.
The question I have, Brew, to your point, if Kelce catches the ball, are we doing tush push stuff? If Kelce catches the ball and the Chiefs win that game,
no.
you're like, you know what? Also, just before we move on with the Chiefs being 1-1 and back in business, I want to talk about the false starts.
Maybe not.
So there's an element of that where it's like whining in sports. All the refs were for the Chiefs and all the memes, and it got outrageous, and it's still kind of happening now with this Giants game coming up. And of course, the Patriots were accused of doing all sorts of stuff.
The Patriots were found guilty a couple times.
But not of everything.
No, not of everything.
Not of interfering with the comms.
Yeah, correct.
Several things, but just because you did three guilty things doesn't mean the fourth is automatic.
Totally right. That's right.
And now it's the Eagles' turn, kind of on the chopping block. Like, you know what? You are good, but you're also you're right there on the edge of it.
But that's why it's going to get banned, is because it's hard to ref.
I think that's a savvy strategy.
I think the fact that they've been running it more, like they ran it 6 times. If they run, you've always brought up, what if they run down the field like that? And it's been like there's no way they're doing it.
Yeah,
No, But the more they do it, it does
Correct.
bother you. Like even me, who had no problem with it, but when you start doing it on every 3rd and 1 or 3rd and 2 and then 4th, like it gets to the point, okay, enough already.
How much do you think it's going to happen this week?
Oh, this season
Who do
they
play
probably
this week?
will
I
use
apologize
it a
for
lot.
not knowing.
They play.
I
I don't know.
They play
someone will tell us in our ear. I forgot who they played this week. My guess is they're going to try not to do it this week.
Rams.
Oh, they
Oh, yeah,
play the
Rams.
Rams. They
They're
might
gonna
need
use
to.
it against the Rams. Yeah.
That's right. That's
They're definitely
going to
do
the
it.
weekend.
I hope
No,
they're
if
not.
they were playing if it was a game that they expected to dominate, I would think they would want the air to cool a bit on the plate. But in a game that they're going to need.
They might need it.
It's also a sign like they don't care. I think it is interesting. Like, you know what? We don't care.
We don't know. KW, my point is this. You can say they don't care. They certainly would have cared if up 3 with 8 minutes left in that Chiefs game, they had called false start there.
Oh, yeah.
And they're now all of a sudden at 4th and goal from the 6, and they have to kick a field goal. They would have cared.
Just go for it.
Right. But they wouldn't from the 6.
They should be practicing it without the false starts. How about that?
100%.
That's what they should be doing.
Meanwhile, Chiefs are looking for their first win when they take on Russ in the sneaky hot offense of the New York Giants. Is it on the board that the Chiefs lose against the Giants?
No. Not even a little bit. Not even a little. If the Chiefs lose to the Giants, I agree with Nick that it is not a literal must win because you look at the schedule, there's still room for them to, win. Like, if they lose to the Giants, they could start 1-5. Could. I mean, they could beat the Ravens, obviously.
One
but
0-3 team this century
you're
has made the playoffs.
Yeah.
Look at the
you
rest
do?
of the schedule.
But
if they start 1-5.
Hold on. We're doing must win now. You're
Okay.
so
Get excited.
Will
points.
on the
No
board if
points.
they lose.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, there's always in sports
Okay, so
a never
yes.
know what.
Okay,
No,
start off with no
I am
chance.
saying it is not on the board.
Yeah.
First of all, I don't think the Giants are very good. Only coach thinks the Giants are very good. All right. So, secondly, the Chiefs, like Mahomes said, what an opportunity to prove that. Like, I think Kelsey and Mahomes both haven't had great starts to the season. They're coming out hyped up. The defense hasn't been great. They're coming out hyped up. Like, and you can say, well, they've been the last 2 weeks. They've been like, we want to prove something. We facing the team that beat us in the Super Bowl. But this week is going to be different because they're not facing one of the elite teams. All right, you're facing bad teams.
So here's what I'm willing to go a step further. I call this a shave my head game.
No, we don't want you to do that.
Well, you don't have to worry about it.
If the Chiefs are 0-3 and you shave their head, we're not.
show's
The
over.
show's pretty
We're
much
in
done.
trouble? Your head.
All right.
But come up with something else.
Okay,
I don't know.
listen,
Never take your feet off.
So
your
you're
socks off on the plane.
He would never agree to that.
Bro, that's not something I do.
He'd rather shave his head on the airplane than have to keep his socks on. They gotta breathe. My dog's
Not
gotta breathe,
take
he
my
said.
socks
Your
off
dogs
on
have to breathe. What are you talking about?
Are these guys out of their mind? Just open wanton lying.
That's a lie. That's a total lie. He didn't say my dogs need to breathe.
You're such a bad guy. But here's the thing. We're doing this question, so sometimes we ask a question in the meeting, and we're like, well, that would probably be a boring conversation if we all are in universal agreement. Brew said no. You guys knew I was going to say no, and I'll give my reasons in a moment.
Oh.
Which makes me think Wilds might be saying yes.
Yes.
But, okay, so here's the thing. Because you are a bit of a mess on this.
I know. I love Mahomes.
No, that's not. It's not because you love Mahomes. You yelled at Danny Parkins.
For what?
When he was before the Eagle game, and he was talking about how it could get bad for Kansas City. And he didn't even say they could lose to the Giants. You assigned him that take, and that's when you were like, I'm worried I'm going to get memed here. You then saw the Chiefs play the team that you think is the best team in football, and that you thought was going to blow them out, and it comes down to the final minutes, and you feel worse. Like, I would think you, of anyone on the show, should feel better about the Chiefs after week 2.
Am I the statistician on the show? Am I out here talking EPA, or am I talking, hello, vibe meter? I'm catching bad vibes. And here's the thing. I said thought there was weird vibes. I thought Chris Jones' vibe was weird. I thought Kelsey's vibe was weird, yelling and like being frustrated. And I'm like, I can't just be the vibes guy and put pencils on my head and expect people to respect it. I need to have some sort of thing. Zach Gilbert of Sports Illustrated came to my rescue. Here's what he wrote. The Chiefs, this would be interesting. Guess how long the Chiefs have been ahead since the beginning of kickoff in the Super Bowl?
About 4.5 minutes.
2 minutes and 44 seconds.
Yeah, it was just in the Eagle game. Because they trailed the whole Super Bowl, they trailed all of week 1.
That's why I think the vibes are off.
These are 3 really good teams.
I understand.
Two really good teams.
I understand they're very good teams. The Chiefs have been to 3 consecutive Super Bowls and are a dynasty. So I don't know if you know what? The Chargers are actually pretty good. It's okay to be down the whole. I think it messes with them. That's why I think the vibes are off. So if there is a path, I think if the Giants hit Malik Neighbors deep right away and then something happens, like the vibes are like, we don't have Rasheed Rice. We don't have Xavier.
No,
Worthy.
I think Xavier's going to play.
Oh, okay.
For whatever it's worth. I'm not reporting
but
that,
there's something,
but I think
I feel like
play.
they're no longer, and it's what you said, the mystique, not only external,
I agree with that.
I think the internal mystique is a little broken.
So let me respond to that, because I think that maybe you're right, but that's why the Giants game's so exciting, because you take care of business in that game, and you're 1 game away from rewriting what everyone said about you.
Oh, yeah.
Because you get Baltimore in week 4. You know what I mean?
Definitely.
As long as you take care of the Giants, you walk into week 4 saying, we win this home game today, and not only have we righted the ship, people are going to overcorrect in the other direction.
Totally agree.
But I do want to say this. I'm not predicting a blowout because of what Andy said. When Andy said, this loss is on me, I got too aggressive, I could see Andy being, it's on, 4th down or game planning wise, be very conservative in this spot and feel like this is a, guys, get the first win of the season on the board situation and, you know what I mean, and get that monkey off your back and move on. And I do think that the Chiefs, I actually think they have good personnel on the offensive line. Left guard's a significant concern, but the other spots are good. But they're new to playing together, and that Giants D-line can present problems. So you know what I mean? I think a lot of the Chiefs offense we don't like. The quick hitter stuff is what you're going to see.
I agree
so
with
I'm not expecting them to blow out the Giants. That's not what I'm predicting. But I do not think they can lose in this spot. This is like playoff adjacent, and it's Patrick Mahomes, and they have the better team. Unlike right now against Philadelphia, they didn't, it turns out.
Russ 1-4 since leaving the Seahawks against the Chiefs. Thursday night football, Bills hosting the winless Dolphins. Buffalo favored by 12.5. Tua met with the media yesterday. Was very complimentary of Josh Allen, which is nice. May have also accidentally dissed himself, not ideal. Do you have any problem with this?
I'm a bit torn.
Okay.
I respect Tua's honesty. He didn't say anything that's not true. All right? But there is a time to bite your tongue. If your wife gets a new hairdo that you don't like, bite your tongue, right? Like there's a time for that. To bite. It's why we don't hear coaches all the time saying, really? You think we can beat them? We got no chance. Their backup quarterback's better than our start. There's a time to bite your tongue or just try to motivate your players. And seriously, Tyreek and Jalen Waddle may already, particularly Tyreek, may already be talking to people, whispering about how Tua's not this or that. This gives them fodder. And, Nick, it allows now reporters can legitimately ask Tyreek, Jalen, whoever. Tua said he can't do half the things that Josh can do. You agree? And you don't seem like, if you ask that and Tua never says this, you sound like you're trying to start something. Now you can just ask it as a legitimate question, and there's no telling what somebody might say. So it could start beef in the locker room. So look, he was honest, and he seems like he's a very honest guy in these press conferences.
Yeah.
But
He's got to
just
stop
gotta bite your
talking.
tongue.
He has to. Like this is just as, in a very different way, bad as if you saw a quarterback walk up to the podium and be like, that team we're playing sucks and we're going to kill them. You know what I mean? They're always like, he went too far in the other direction because other than throwing and running, there's not much a quarterback does on the field. Tua is talking there as if he is Jake Browning this week. A backup, you know what I mean, that knows he's a backup, that's like, hey, that guy's better than me and everything. Tua is paid like he is a superstar. He was a top 10 pick that got paid like he's a superstar. And for him to if he would have only said the running part, I would have had no problem with it whatsoever.
Like he was,
you know what I mean? Like, that's objectively true. Also, he wouldn't have to say it. We all kind of give him grace for not running the ball because of his concussions, and they don't want him to run the ball. But to then add in, and when it was on the heels of the press conference the day before, or not the day before, but after the game on Sunday, when he was like, yeah, I've told Tyreek that when he's running, I need him to, kind of look up and track the ball a bit because I'm not going to be able to throw it as far as he can run, which reads may be okay. It doesn't sound good when you hear him deliver it. Basically saying, Tyreek needs to understand there's going to be a lot of underthrows and I need him to come back for the ball for me. And there's yet to be one thing to come out of Dolphins camp since the open of training camp that you're like, that's good. You got other teams being like, they don't practice the way we do. You got Bruce video. You got Tyreek stuff. None of it's been good. Mike McDaniel looks like he is aging by the minute. None of it's good.
They were upset the Bears were tackling.
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Yeah.
It wasn't great. Here's how the numbers fall, Josh versus Tua, unfortunately. Josh is up 8-1. It's 33
Well, he wasn't
points.
lying.
He has led the league in passing.
We got the numbers right there. The numbers are right there.
But we have proof of this concept that Mike McDaniel, Waddle, Tyreek, healthy Tua, and a dynamic running game, which doesn't seem to work.
But they have the
now.
same personnel.
Clearly figured it out. And they never adjusted. That's all they have.
It's not great for Mike McDaniel.
No.
With our next guest on the call, Joel Klatt. Welcome. More on that game in a second, but want to jump into Arch Manning. Joel, granted, Texas is favored by almost 40 against Sam Houston Saturday, but Arch hasn't looked like the generational player we were promised. Okay, here are the numbers, Joel. 44% against UTEP, 114 yards. He's thrown an interception every game. Wasn't great against San Jose State. Underwhelming against Ohio State. We kind of chalk that up to Matt Patricia's Patriots brilliance.
Of course.
What's going on with Arch here, Joel?
Well, first of all, good to be with you, boys. Let me start by saying, I think that there can be multiple reasons for a quarterback to struggle. You can be struggling around the quarterback and at the offensive line and wide receiver positions and not giving your quarterback a chance to succeed. And then there are times when the quarterback is just struggling and not playing well. And generally what happens when a quarterback is not playing well individually, and in particular a younger quarterback like Arch, because let's face it, he's still fairly inexperienced, is that they have a timing issue. Okay, so if you go back to the origins of the Steve Sarkisian offense, it really has its roots down in the old historical West Coast system. That's what he kind of cut his teeth under, the old Bill Walsh system. And that system of offense, there is an age-old equation that is used for quarterback play and wide receiver play that leads to completions. And the equation goes like this: timing plus spacing equals completion. So when you're struggling and you go 0 for 10 during a sector of the middle of the game against UTEP, what's going on? There's something wrong with either the timing or the spacing of the concept on offense. And I think Arch's timing is totally off. I think he's ahead of the offense. Let me tell you what happens when you're ahead of the offense. For whatever reason, it can be you're pressing, it can be that your feet are moving too quick. What happens when you're ahead of the spacing of the concept is that you generally throw the ball low or low and away. And the reason is because you're jumping at the throw, you're anticipating the throw too early, and your foot is out in front of you. And if you look at the mechanics of Arch, he's jumping and hopping at throws, and he's not in balance and throwing fluidly. I think that's one of the main issues that he's got. Now, if it's not that, then you have to start speculating about health, but I don't want to do that, and I don't think it's necessarily health. I think he's just ahead of the offense, and he's got to correct that for them to become an offense that can reach their full potential. That's to me, guys, it's the thing that has to click before he starts playing better.
But all right, Joel, listen. I obviously you were, for people that don't know, a great quarterback at the University of Colorado. I mean,
I think you don't throw that term around.
Okay,
right?
you were a pretty good quarterback at the University of Colorado. You played quarterback. All right, yeah, there you go. Perfect. You happen to play quarterback in Colorado. I'm not an arm angle expert. I'm not a throwing motion expert. But I watch a lot of football, and his throws look funny. I'm not talking about the result. I'm talking about his arm. And like when you're watching it, that I think one of the reasons people speculated about injury was just because it looked funny the way his arm motion. Does it look as fun? Like, is that explained by what you just talked about?
So I went back and watched his film from last year just because I was like, wait, is this different? And because I wanted to make sure that it wasn't something that is mechanically different from a year ago. And the only thing that's mechanically different is his rhythm. See, when your rhythm is correct, you can get up and on top of your front foot. And when you're not, then your front foot acts as almost a barrier and you work against your front foot. So you asked about arm angle. I keep talking about the feet. Here's the thing with arm angle and quarterback play. It's a lot like a swing in baseball. Aren't there a lot of different swings in baseball that work?
Yeah.
The answer is yes. There's a lot of different arm angles in football that can work. We are not trying to build robots at this position. That's a misnomer. It doesn't have to look a certain way from an arm angle, obviously, because you look at Matt Stafford and Phillip Rivers, they go a lot three-quarter. Tom Brady was way over the top as a C thrower, the C pointing at the label of his logo on his helmet. So there's a lot of different ways to actually be successful from an arm angle perspective. To me, it's more about the rhythm and the footwork and the balance that correlates with it. And he's working against, if you watch him throw, his feet are too wide and then his front foot is way too far out. So all he can do is work and kind of like work like this and fall against it versus getting on top of his front foot. Arm angle to me is not important.
Last year, Joel, and he didn't play great teams, but outside of Ohio State, he hasn't faced great teams this year, and he looked good last year. So first, why do you think there's the difference? Is it the pressure that's on him now, whereas last year there wasn't much pressure? And secondly, we've obviously seen plenty of quarterbacks that weren't great or phenomenal in college become great in the NFL. But I can't recall seeing one struggle like this. I know it's 3 games, but struggle like this, particularly against lesser competition. So do you still see greatness in him? Number 1 draft pick greatness, potential franchise quarterback in the NFL greatness?
Well, all I can judge is what I've seen. And to answer your question, from the film that I've seen, the answer is no. But that doesn't mean that the film can't change. I would have said the same thing going into the last year for Baker Mayfield or going into the last year with Joe Burrow. They hadn't put film out that would have suggested that they got drafted where they were going to get drafted. Maybe even Kyler Murray could get thrown into that as well. So this can certainly change with experience and with development. He is fairly inexperienced, like I said a little bit earlier. I will also say this. You say, like, is the pressure getting to him? Well, we've just spent 7 minutes on a nationally televised show talking about it. That's unique.
Yeah.
You haven't asked me one question about Cade Klubnik, who is a more veteran guy and has struggled almost equally at a place that has won national championship and was expected to compete for another.
Yeah,
and his last name is not Manning, but that's the point. Like, I think that the pressure is there, which leads to him pressing, which leads to him being ahead of the offense. It all, to me, is a domino effect. And it's very difficult as a quarterback. And the last thing that I would just say is, like, there's absolutely an opportunity to develop, get better, and become great. There's no doubt. That's available for anybody. But the process has to be followed, and you have to lean into the trials and tribulations. You know, as you guys know, like, I'm a man of faith, and it's like it says it in the book of James. It's like, You've got to go through trials and tribulations so that your faith can be perfected, that you can be adequate and not lacking anything. It's the same thing for all of us as individuals, where we're trying to grow as people, or quarterbacks are trying to grow as quarterbacks. You have to go through the fire to know who you are and how are you going to respond. So that would be like my encouragement to Arch, is like, everything's ahead of you. You can play better. We know you can play better. You just have to go through the fire and come out the other side.
I'll be honest with you, that fired me up to become a better host of this segment.
I loved it.
From here on out, this segment's going to start cooking. All right, on the thriving end of the quarterback spectrum, Grant Nussmeier projected to go number 1 maybe to the Saints. Nick, here are his numbers. I know that you're a fan. 12-4 since the start of last season, almost 300 yards, 32 touchdowns, 14 interceptions. Obviously, lineage of great LSU quarterbacks, most recently Burrow and Jaden. What do you like about Nuss?
Well, I kind of take it in a slightly different direction, which is, given where, like what you said, that Arch is probably behind the projected schedule of the draft nicks. And like, I feel like all of a sudden, Joel, this is not the year where fan bases are going to be like, man, are we getting the number 1 pick? When I watch college football, I don't see. Now, listen, last year wasn't quite that either, and we'll see what Cam Ward turns into. And the guy, Caleb was that, and Caleb's, had some struggles. So I'm not saying it's a sure thing, but is it fair to say that where we sit here today in college football, we are potentially going to look at an underwhelming quarterback class going into next season?
As it relates to expectations, I think that that's accurate. But again, there's a lot of football to be played. 3 games into Joe Burrow's last year, did anyone realize that we were about to see like Joe Burrow? The answer's no. Like, no one even paid attention until early November when he went into Tuscaloosa and beat Tua's team in that incredible undefeated showdown, LSU and Alabama. And then he went on a historic run and played incredible in the playoffs. So all of that is ahead of these guys. The one guy that I think that has played best early is John Mateer at Oklahoma. I think he's really talented. He's a guy that I like a lot and liked him back to the offseason. And then let's go back a year. Guys, if you go back to the beginning of the season last year, Carson Beck was thought to be kind of a Heisman type of guy and maybe a first pick in the draft going into last spring's draft. But the season didn't go great at Georgia. He had a lot of drops on the outside. Well, guess who's back playing really well for Miami? Carson Beck. And here's also what I would say, and I think I've talked about this on this program before, but the experience in college is vital in order to have top-line Super Bowl success at the next level. If you take all the college careers of the quarterbacks that have won Super Bowls since Tom Brady, early in the 2000s, and if you say, what is their average college career of a quarterback that goes on to win the Super Bowl, they have 30-plus starts on average, thousands of attempts, over 50 touchdowns. So experience at this level matters. Maybe Carson Beck is getting that and becomes a guy that goes on a historic run with Miami, and then we look at him next spring and say, oh, well, he's absolutely the first pick. Could be an option.
I like that. Don't want to let you go before we talk about number 17, Texas Tech, at number 16, Utah, on Fox Saturday, big noon. Is Utah on upset alert, Joel? What are we expecting out of this game?
I think they're incredibly evenly matched. I think these two, along with Iowa State, are the 3 best teams in the Big 12, and it just would set them apart in a track to try to get to the conference championship game and then have 60 minutes to potentially go to the playoff. 2 differing quarterback styles. You got Devin Dampier. He transfers into Utah from New Mexico. Short area quickness, kind of a version of Kyler Murray at quarterback for Utah. They're a run-oriented team, great offensive line play. And then for Texas Tech, it's the traditional Texas Tech style offense. Throw it down the field with Baron Morton. He's also a guy, by the way, that I think you're going to hear about in the draft coverage come up this spring, because Baron Morton is a big guy. He can throw it accurately down the field. This should be a great game. It really should. They're evenly matched. It's an incredible environment in Salt Lake, and I certainly can't wait to get out there.
Awesome.
I was just going to say, little known fact about the show, Wilds has in his contract that we can't have anyone on the show more handsome than him more than 3 times a month, which means we are limited to 3 Joel Klatt appearances a month. But we'd love to have you for all 3.
Yeah, maybe on your pod or something.
We'd love to have you as often as Wilds' contract will allow. We'd love to have you.
Yes, I agree with that.
Yeah.
But again, it's more of an agent thing.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.